I've been studying the craziest web animations for multiple years now, and this year I've been part of 3 award-winning websites. And so here's my tier list of what I believe are the hardest animations to make on the web. Alright guys, here's the tier list. We've got 5 different tiers. We have the God tier, the advanced, intermediate, junior, and beginner, and have about 20 animations, and I haven't made anything in advanced, so I don't know exactly where all of these animations fit inside of the tier list, but we're gonna do it in live, and I've got a bunch of examples here with all of the different animations here. So the first one, the mask split text, this is what I'm talking about here. So you need to split your text either word by word, line by line, and then you add like a mask animation on top of it. And I have another example. This website really implements it really well, the Curb website, and you're gonna see that it has like this mask. And I think this guy, well, these guys did it character by character right here. And then this here is character by character as well. And then there's a clip path or like an overflow hidden to create this animation. Really popular animation right now. And I would put that at junior. It's quite a simple animation, but you do have to take in consideration a few things like responsiveness, right? When you resize your window, you need to resplit your text. Another thing, you need to only apply the split after your font is loaded, or you can have some problems with that. So that's why I don't put it as beginner, even though it seems to be like a very simple animation. Putting it at junior because you have to take in consideration a few things. Then we have the masks. Masks, super nice animations. I think probably in my favorite animations, even though they're quite simple. And I have my examples here if I can open them. This website, this is a mask animation. I have another example here. Website made in Montreal. Another nice little mask. And I think Zentree here, they also did something really cool with masks. Yeah, actually this website has a bunch of different masks. See, that was a mask. This is a mask. This is another mask here on scroll. And there's also like, see how the rocks here are not getting masked. This is crazy little detail that makes everything. So yeah, I think masks are very, very nice and quite simple. Really, all you have to do is do like a clip path, overflow hidden, and these ones here, I think they animated the different points, the 4 different points of the rectangle differently with a different ease and a different duration. That's why it has like this nice effect. And yeah, I would put that at junior as well, and even easier than the split text because you have less to take in account when it comes to responsiveness and like weird behavior and accessibility and all of that. A mask is just a mask that you put on top of content. So I would put that junior level as well. Then we have pixel shader. All right, we're gonna get straight into it with the shaders. And you're gonna see I have a bunch of different examples here. This right here is a pixel shader. When I move my mouse, you're gonna see that we have like this pixel distortion. This website has it too. I think they did something crazy actually, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I mean, this is nuts. Also a pixel shader, very, very intense. A bit too much for me, to be honest. This one, I think they implemented very well. On top of some very simple typography, I think this is where the shader really shines. It's in something that's very simple. I think this is a bit too much. And I think here they did it as well. Yep, they did it here on top of a 3D shape. Very nice too. I think I still prefer like here and here. They also did it. I think this looks really nice. Kind of very fashion-esque. Very cool. And to me, this goes, well, it's going to go straight into advanced because you have to understand a lot of things to do this. First, it's a shader. So you got to be able to do shaders. Second, you need to understand how images are made, like all the different pixels, how the information is stacked inside of an array. You need to understand that to be able to create this sort of animation. And there's also like a scroll, not a scroll, but a mouse animation on top of that. So that adds another level of complexity. So really, there's many concepts that you need to understand to be able to create this sort of shader, even though it's not impossible. And there are many examples and tutorials online to help you do that if you're interested. So that's why I'm putting it at advanced. Next one, stacked cards. Very interesting animation. Quite an interesting subject with a lot of small complexities as well, even though the animation looks very simple at first. And I'm talking about this right here. See how this kind of, it's a stacked card. This is what I'm calling a stacked card animation. Not sure how to call it, but Webisoft has it too, made at Locomotive. Really nice animation here. And the interesting thing about this stacking is there's a level of complexity when you have a weird screen size. And you're going to see that they probably here, it's sticking much lower than the other resolution. And that's because they want to make sure that the last one here is going to be visible, right? And it's that it's going to unstick when it reaches the end here. A bit similar to here. You're going to see that it's going to stack and it's going to push all the group on top like this. So the last element, the artificial intelligence here, when it reaches the top, well, when the bottom is at the bottom of the window here, everything unstacks. So small details, you need to do this kind of animation to understand what I'm trying to say. There's definitely a level of complexity that's hidden when doing this. It looks simple, but really it's not if you want it to be like properly responsive. So to me, this is gonna go in intermediate. Yeah, intermediate, because you need to calculate multiple things like the size of your card, the size of the window. It's quite complicated and you need to create like an offset. It's not just like a sticky position, like top, like 50 pixels. Like, nah, it's more complicated than that. So I'm gonna put it at intermediate, maybe junior. Put it at intermediate for now. Let's move on. 3D DOM positioning. So 3D DOM positioning is a 3D element that interacts with a DOM element. So you're gonna see that this is a 3D element, probably inside of a canvas, and then I'm moving it and it's gonna place itself inside of a DOM element, right? This is not made in 3D. This is like not inside of like a WebGL context. So this is really nice because we're merging two worlds together and you need to do quite a bit of math to be able to position your 3D elements at the right spot. Same thing for this website is a great example of this sort of animation. I'm gonna scroll here. You're gonna see I have a 3D element and it's gonna place itself inside of a DOM element, right? I hate that sound, but really nice though. Really, really sick mix of two worlds. So to me, I would put that to advanced, a bit less hard than the pixel shader, but still quite hard because you need to do a lot of math, a lot of computation to be able to place your 3D object at the right spot. You need to move it on scroll. Now they kind of disappeared. I don't know why, but you need to, move your thing, rotate it on scroll the right amount so that it fits here. And then what if I move my window here? Oh, responsiveness kind of broken here. But if I refresh my page, maybe they fix it. Yeah, they just don't fix it on resize. But that's kind of the hidden complexities in this sort of animation. So yeah, this is not good. They should be recalculating things, but that's fine. I would put that in advanced, quite complicated, and you can see that this sort of problem can happen. So moving on to another one, 2D physics, quite sweet little animations that are extremely popular. And this is what I'm talking about. This sort of like 2D physics that you can like ragdoll around. So popular. I have more examples here. This guy here, it's a bit different. This one still 2D physics. Very cool. And I have another one here. This is the same kind of the, what is this one about? Oh yeah, this is kind of a, how do you call that? Like a slingshot type of animation. You know, you move your mouse and it swings around. That's 2D physics to me. And this is, I think, the same, kind of. And this is made with matter.js, by the way. I'm 100% sure of this. This one, I'm not so sure if it's matter.js. I would think it is, actually. If I go on matter.js, I think it's the exact. Yeah, it's quite similar. I believe it's made with this, but I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, the level of complexity of this, it's pretty high. It's still 2D, not 3D. It's using the canvas. Let's see. I would put it at intermediate. Yeah, a bit harder than the stacked cards because you gotta go in, you gotta leave the DOM, go inside of the canvas, and that's a whole lot of new problems that you don't really have inside of the DOM. So yeah, I think, but still not 3D, still not advanced, I would say. Top of intermediate for now is good. And then we have videos on scroll. Super interesting animations that a lot of people at my work at Locomotive have been checking out. They've been working on that. This is a website that they did recently, and you're gonna see that this video is playing on scroll, and there seems to be a lot of problems related to playing videos on scroll. They had a lot of struggles to make this right, to make it work on all browsers, to make it not laggy, to not make it like too heavy. A lot of problems, and a very popular, actually I have another example here. I think it's here. Yep, right here. That's not a 3D object. That's a video, and we can see it just by looking at it. Boom, it's a video. If I delete it, it's gone. So it's not a 3D object. It's probably a huge sequence of image. Yeah, it looks really, really great in my opinion, kind of to showcase like products. I think another website they did it at Locomotive recently, and I'm gonna go inside of the products here, and you're gonna see there's also a video on scroll here. See this video? It's on scroll. Very sick. Very nice to kind of showcase like a luxury product. I think it's a very, I think, cost efficient way of doing this instead of doing it like in 3D. Of course, in 3D it would be better, but it's much less costly to do it that way. I would put that actually in advanced. This is hard to do. This one has a lot of problems. Like every browser has its own way of taking a look at the video. If you're on Safari and then you have low batteries on mobile, the video is not gonna play. So you have to take that in consideration. Then if the video is too large, too fat, too high resolution, it's gonna lag like hell. Your website is gonna take a lot of time to load, etc., etc. Lots of problems for such a simple animation, but very complex, very complex. So I'm gonna put it at the bottom of advanced. And then we have 3D perspective gallery. This one, very, very sick. I couldn't find a lot of examples, even though I've seen this everywhere. But the Unseen Studio has a very, probably my favorite one out of them. And it's this. If it loads, enter. Yeah, I'm gonna cut my sound here. And yeah, it's kind of really nice. Infinite, so there are multiple concepts here again to make this kind of animation. There's an infinite scroll. There's also a vertex deformation on each image, or like video in this case. And there's also a perspective element. So many concepts here to be able to do something like this, but I think it looks really, really sick. And I would put that straight up at the top of advanced. This is the hardest animation on the list right now. I would say the hardest to make. It's harder than the pixel shader because there's also a shader inside of this to make the vertex deformation. The shader is less complicated than the pixel one, but still, there's a 3D space that you have to take in consideration. So definitely at the top of advanced for now. Then we have 3D timelines. Okay, we're getting straight into it. And this is crazy. You're going to see what I'm talking about by 3D timelines. I couldn't really find a proper word to describe what I mean, but this is what I mean by 3D timeline. It's kind of a scene that we have, and then as we scroll, it's kind of playing like this 3D, I don't know how to call this, mise en scène, or like a movie or like a video game type of thing. So to me, that's a 3D timeline. Same thing here, 3D timeline. As we scroll, it's kind of, oh, did I just break the website? Yep, I think it just, I'm going to refresh that. Something weird happened. I'm going to wait a bit before scrolling. Yeah. That's to me a 3D timeline, right? I'm scrolling and it's moving around the scene, kind of showing me like a story and all of that. This one, Igloo, I think this won website of the month on awards. Another 3D timeline. We scroll this, it's kind of showing us and then do, and then I think this one is infinite as well. So yeah, this one is an infinite component as well. And to me, this goes straight into God tier, guys. Straight into God tier. This is crazy, okay? This is not even web development at this point. It's in a league of its own. Like, you need to have professionals to make this kind of thing. Like, this is not just a website. This is almost a video game inside of a website. So to me, this is crazy, crazy high level of skills, and it's straight God tier. Straight God tier to be able to make this. Like, I'm not even joking. This is very difficult. Let's move on to another one. Image pixel effect. Okay, this one is a bit easier. Okay, we're gonna calm ourselves down a bit with this one. And you're gonna see, okay, it has the effect that we've seen later, the pixel, previously, the pixel shader, this one here. But you're gonna see if I reload, this is what I'm talking about with the pixel effect. It's kind of depixelizating the image, and Locomotive has the same concept. You're gonna see here, it's kind of pixeled, and then it's getting clearer. And I think same thing. Oh, by the way, this guy, we're gonna see his website very soon. So just a little, and yeah, I think, yeah, that's the pixel effect that I'm talking about. They have it here. I think it looks amazing. To be honest, I think it's a really great look, even though it's being used a lot. I think this website kind of has its own, yeah, it has its own like implementation. It's kind of coming from the top. I think it looks great. Definitely, I would put this at intermediate. I think a bit harder than the stacked cards. And to do this, it's not that complicated. You go inside of the canvas, and all you need to understand is how an image is built, the structure of the array, very similar to the pixel shader. By the way, I would do the image pixel effect before doing the pixel shader. That's a great like stepping stone. I would start with this one and then learn this one because they're quite connected. But yeah, I would put that at intermediate. This sort of animation, yeah, intermediate. Let's move on to the next one. Infinite scroll. This is a classic. It's really seen in many, many websites. And yeah, we have this website here that I've worked on recently at Locomotive, and shout out Arnaud. He helped me a lot, gave me some tips to be able to make a nice, proper infinite scroll like this. Same thing, I think on this website, it has an infinite component. Let's see. It's a French website, but it's based for Netflix, and you're gonna see this is an infinite scroll as well. But yeah, we have infinite scrolls inside of 3D perspective galleries, and we're gonna see later on inside of WebGL galleries. So to me, the infinite scroll, I would put that intermediate above the image pixel effect. Yeah, I think that's the right place. We're still inside of the DOM. Well, you could have an infinite scroll inside of like a WebGL context, but it's the same principle. You have to listen to the position of the images and move them down or up depending on the scroll. So not that crazy difficult, but still a lot of calculations, a lot of computation. So I would put that intermediate. Okay, moving on to the next one, parallel page transitions. This is sick, very interesting concept we're gonna talk about here. Now, ExoApe, this website has a very classic parallel page transition, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go to the other page. And yeah, sometimes there's a little lag on the first loads, but this is what I'm talking about when I talk about parallel page transitions. We're seeing two pages at the same time inside of the transition. And then there's another example here on this website. I think if I change page, this is another parallel transition. And I think this website has, it's very red. This website has also this right here. This is a parallel page transition. And I call it parallel because we're seeing two pages at the same time. And I would consider this type of page transition to be the hardest of all page transitions, or in the hardest. And the reason is, I don't know if you can see something about those three websites. They have something in common, and they don't have a scroll bar, right? The three of them don't have the native scroll bar. And the reason is they probably found a way to hijack the scroll to be able to create the parallel transition, because the reality with a normal scroll, what's going to happen is if you change the page, instantly the default browser behavior is to scroll to the top, right? And so if I'm scrolling here and I'm clicking on another page, boom, it's going to scroll to the top with the default behavior. But here, they kind of found their own way to create the scroll, and that's how they can have like this super nice parallel transition. Same for Exo8. I'm going to scroll, go inside of the menu, and boom, it's changing page. Like, this is crazy, crazy advanced stuff. And I would put that page transition inside of advanced for sure. I think I would put it above video on scroll. Maybe even above 3D DOM positioning. No. I think not. I think here is the right spot. Quite complex, still just DOM things, but you have to think about the whole structure of your website when it comes to these types of animations. So definitely in the advanced. And now let's see, moving on to gradients. Oh yeah, gradients, another type of animation that I really like. And gradients can vary a lot. They can be super simple and they can be super complex, but I'm talking about these types of gradients, which are probably not made in HTML and CSS, okay? Like if we take a look at this gradient here, it has a mouse effect and a scroll effect as well. So I think this is made with a custom shader. Same thing for this one here. If I scroll, it's changing. Definitely made with a custom shader, I believe. And this one, I'm sure it is. Very classic, very popular one. And yeah, to me, this is very, very high level stuff. Incredibly difficult. I've been digging into gradients recently, and this is hard to make. Not easy at all. If you want to have like a very specific look, it's a lot of very complex shader stuff. So to me, this goes straight into advanced. And I think it would be probably right here. Oh, not right here. Yeah, above the pixel shader. It's a harder shader to do, in my opinion, but still not as many components as like a 3D perspective gallery. So I'm gonna put it right there. I think it's the right spot. Okay, moving on. Pixel transition. Okay, pixel transition, guys. I'm gonna say it right now. We gotta stop doing this. All right, because there's a lot. A lot of people are doing this, and it's kind of getting overused. I think some OG people did that at first, and then a lot of people found that to be a very good idea, and they copied them, which is fine to do some copying, but sometimes it's just too much. And you're gonna see what I'm talking about here. I can pull 3 websites with like this exact same page transition. Like, you're gonna see if I switch page, this transition right here. And I found 3 examples in like 5 minutes, but you could find probably 10 websites with this type of transition. So this one here is a bit, here, it's still a pixel transition, but still a bit more creative, in my opinion. It still has its little unique touch compared to those 2 websites where they really didn't think that far. It just has like this pixel vibe. But on the WebGL project, which is a project made by Locomotive, they actually implemented the pixel effect on scroll in a very unique way. You're gonna see. That's kind of sick. That's very unique, even though it's the same like pixel grid effect. It's still very unique. And to me, it explains a bit their page transition, right? We have a bit of a connection there. So I think that's great. And that's easy. Beginner, easy. Very easy to make. You have a bunch of divs, you animate them, easy peasy. You can even use the stagger made by GSAP, and it's gonna do that for you. Like, and you can choose the direction even if you want to start at the center, left, right, etc. Very easy. That's a great beginner animation to make. Moving on, image gallery with mouse. Okay, it's not the best names, but you're gonna see it's a sick animation. It's been implemented a lot. It's everywhere. Very popular because it's effective. All right, very effective animation. Inside of the Locomotive website, they have it. I think here. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. You're moving your mouse, and it's kind of showing a bunch of images and they're disappearing. This is the type of animation that I'm talking about. I think here, if this website can load, here it is. And then boom, we have this animation. That's what I'm talking about. And to me, this is not that complicated to make. Very not that complicated. You just have a mouse, you got to track its position and move a bunch of images at those positions and then fade them away. And then also, I think here, if you have a lot of them, you want to quickly remove them so we don't have like too many elements inside of the DOM. You're gonna see this one, they do it. There's like, normally there's a fade, but if we have too many elements, it's just disappearing very fast. But I think inside of the Locomotive website, they don't care. They just have a bunch of images. Yeah, they don't really care. But yeah, to me, this, I think this is at the top of junior. Yeah, the hardest of the junior, I think. So not a very hard animation, but more complex still than these two, but less other problems like responsiveness, accessibility, right? We don't really have those problems when it comes to like an image gallery. So let's move on. Stairs transition. Okay, another transition that I'm very tired of seeing, but we got to talk about it because it's so popular. It's an old one, and they have this, that's the stair that I'm talking about. You know, the stairs transition, very, very popular. This website has it as well. Almost even the same menu, guys, like very similar. And then, right, the stairs animation. Not too much to talk about. This is a very simple transition. Here they have an opacity in the background, which makes everything look a bit better. Here, I think they don't have that, and it's just straight like, bang, 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 bang. I would put that beginner level. Very easy, very similar to the pixel transition. It's just 4 divs that you animate on page change. Now, let's talk about the fluid shader. And this is some high level things right there. I think those 3 websites have it, but a lot of websites are implementing, and what I'm talking about is the cursor. It's very subtle on this website, but I think it looks great. They didn't make it too obvious, you know? It's like a very, very subtle thing. It has a nice color, and it's not the same fluid animation that you'll see that all the different websites. And it's this one here. I think this one is the classic one. Also has this fluid, and then this one also I think has it. And this one I think is you can see it here. But it's really nice because here it's very obvious because it's a white background. And then when we click, then it becomes a bit less obvious and it changes. Very unique. But this is like, you see the mushroom shape at the end. This is a telltale that it comes from the very popular Pavel example here, which is open source. So if you're courageous, you can go take a look, because this is some very complex stuff. It's actually open source. I actually tried to go there and try to understand what's happening, and it was a major failure. Almost reconsidered my job when I looked at this. But yeah, very complex stuff. It's all based on super high mathematics theories of like fluid, complex stuff. This goes straight into God tier. God tier as well. Like, don't even... If you truly want to understand what's happening with this shader, it's crazy high level. Like, the code is right there in front of you. You can understand it if you want to try. Very, very high level. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there are a lot of libraries nowadays that you can use to basically recreate that effect easily inside of your website. And I think that's why so many websites have that effect. And the developers probably don't necessarily understand everything that's happening behind, and it's fine too. The cursor, this type of animation, actually has to fit with the website. Like, you don't want to add like a fluid animation on top of everything, and I think a lot of people are doing that right now, and it's not the best. But still, God tier animation in terms of complexity. God tier. Moving on, text scramble. That's a very much simpler animation. If it's well executed, very nice stills. So we're gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna close all of that. And if you see when I hover on the text here, it's kind of scrambling. Very, very cool in my opinion. Locomotive has it as well in the intro here. Oh crap. Okay. I think here it has it. And if I hover on the links as well, and it's also there on page transition. And that is sick. That's a top tier page transition right there. Top tier. I think it looks really, really nice. And yeah, I'm going to put that. Oh, this one has it as well. I kind of forgot exactly what they have here. Yeah, another text scramble here. It fits the vibe because this is like a very futuristic type of artistic direction. So I think it fits. But I'm putting this at beginner. Yeah, top of beginner. This is very, very easy to implement. You could do this in pure vanilla, no libraries or anything, and you could make that quite easily. Or you can also use the GSAP plugin. I think they have one to do exactly that in like 2 minutes. So to me, that's beginner. Very simple animation to make. But again, if implemented correctly, it can create something really, really nice in my opinion, something like this. Let's move on. WebGL galleries. All right. This is interesting as well. WebGL galleries are great. And we can start with the portfolio of Guillaume Colombel, the guy that we saw in Locomotive's website. He's the new hire and a great guy, great music taste, and like insane portfolio as well. I mean, look at that. Infinite scroll, vertex deformation, and a timeline. Crazy, crazy high level. Very, very nice. And you can see that when I scroll here, it's not the same that when I scroll on the page. So insane portfolio. This one is one as well, but it's horizontal scroll. A bit less dynamic than the other one, but still very nice. We have this one here, horizontal as well. Very dynamic, very like a lot of things happening here, but still very cool. Then we have this one. This one I think is a more of a classic simple one. You know, just a stretch like this. I see this everywhere. And then we also have this one. This one is a bit more unique, but still they all have the same concept. An infinite scroll with a vertex distortion based on either the speed or the position of the images. To me, this is very, very sick. I would put that, let's see, what do we have? I think I would put it in advanced, above video on scroll. I think right here, but the pixel shader is way too high, I think right now. I'm gonna put that down here, yeah. And I think that makes sense. Yeah, because the parallel page transitions, a lot of bugs, weird things that can happen with that. So even though those are really complex, no, actually, no, I'm lying. I would put it here. Yeah, I think that's pretty right. Okay, next one, 3D physics. And this I couldn't find a lot of examples, but we have the classic one by Illusion, this one here. And this is very interesting. Physics on the web in 3D. You can check out canon.js if you're interested in doing more things like this. But yeah, not too much to talk about 3D physics. And I would put that in advanced as well. I think right here and the 3D DOM positioning, I think I would move. Yeah, I think that's the right. It's quite advanced, you know, 3D physics. But there are many libraries, many tools to help you so you don't have to make things from scratch. Yeah, not sure if this one should be here, but yeah, I think that's right. All of these could be interchanged, I believe, depending on your level, your own expertise. But yeah, next one, Gooey Effect. This is an interesting one. A lot to talk about with this animation. This one can be made in a WebGL context, in 3D, or it can be made with an SVG. There's many ways to create this effect. And that's what I'm talking about when I say Gooey Effect. It's kind of this merging. You see the shapes are like merging together. We have the same thing here. This right here. You see the divs. And then when they get closer together, there's also a merging here. Very, very interesting concept, I believe. Interesting approach here as well. I think it looks really nice, very interesting. This website has it too. This is an underrated effect in my opinion. I think it's very minimal, but it adds a super nice and interesting touch, like an interactive touch without being like overwhelming, like a fluid simulation. I think it looks great. And there are many ways to do this. Mainly, if you want to do this, you need to understand the Gaussian blur. And then on top of that, it's a Gaussian blur that you need for sure, or just a blur. And on top of the blur, then you want to either, inside of an SVG, you want to do like a matrix, apply a matrix and kind of cut out the shape of your elements after the Gaussian blur has been applied. And same thing here in a 3D context, you would have like a render target and you would apply that on top after applying your blur. Basically, you have a blur and then you have some sort of matrix or some sort of render target on top of it to cut out the shape. And that's why a lot of times you won't see a lot of details inside of the elements. You're going to see it's very simple shapes here, very simple shapes here that are being GUI'd. But yeah, very interesting effect. And I would put that, I think right here, advanced stills, but not as hard as the other ones, but still not intermediate, not the same level as this. And the last one, text gradient. This is a classic. We're finishing with a classic. And this, you're going to see exactly what it is as soon as you see it. It's this one. It's also made with a split text. So very similar as the last ones. Very similar to this one here, the mask split text. It's the same concept, but instead of doing a mask, we're doing like an opacity animation. And it's used on this website as well. This one, it's not on scroll. You're going to see it's right when it comes inside of the view. You're going to see like this. Also quite a simple animation. I'm going to put it right with the mask split text. Same level, very similar animation. It's a junior level animation, but still very nice. Used a lot, but quite useful, I think, in the narrative and the storytelling of the page. So even though it's overused, I still think it has its place because it's effective. It's an effective animation for the storytelling of like the brand or the story of the page and all of that. I think we're done. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. If you learned something, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.